For those of you who don't know me, I'm Jonathan Howell and I work as an energy advisor at Coventry City Council for the BEES programme, and I help deliver the programme in the Coventry and Warwickshire areas. Now, first things first, we all have our acronyms in our kind of program. So just to explain what BEES is and what BEES stands for. BEES stands for Business Energy Advice Service, and primarily it's designed to help businesses reduce their energy consumption, their energy use, and to secure grant funding to facilitate those improvement measures. And today's webinar is designed to give you all some background to the benefits of our program, and also timescale wise to encourage you to sign up and engage as soon as possible, because our program does end in March 2026. So we're all waiting and ready to support you, but you will need to engage soon if you possibly can. So just going into the slides, can I have the next slide, please, Carrie? Okay. As you'd expect, a couple of house rules before we kick off. First of all, if you could all mute yourselves to avoid any sort of background noise. We're going to have two little talks, myself and then a case study from one of our companies we engage with called Harris RCS. So we're going to have a question and answer at the end of the session to sort of close out. But if you have any questions you want to ask, just put them in the chat and either myself or my colleagues will pick them up or we'll address them later on in the actual session. Meeting's been recorded and it will be shared with you after the actual session, and also we'll send out the slides for you as well, so you've got a reference points to refer back to later on. Next slide, please, Carrie. Okay, so quick run through the agenda. I'll do a quick intro to me and then a quick intro to the BEES programme. I'll then go through the eligibility for the programme to understand whether you can get involved or not. I'll go through the process of the BEES programme to give you an idea of what to expect. Then I'll show you a bit more about the energy audit and energy report bit that we do for you. And finally, I'll show you and demonstrate how you can apply for the good bit, which of course is the grant funding. And then I'm going to hand over to Matthew Fielder from Harris RCS, who has engaged with the programme previously and is going to run you through the benefits that he found and what his business gained from the programme. And it will show you a bit about the audit that he had, the key results, and then we'll go to that Q&A session that I mentioned earlier on. Next slide, please, Carrie. Okay, so a bit about me. That photograph, as you can see, is a long time ago. That predates the BEES programme when I was slightly less grey and didn't have to wear glasses. So make of that what you will. It's been quite an involved and lengthy programme the last couple of years. But as you can see, I've been doing this since 2021. I've helped over 250 businesses in Coventry and Warwickshire reduce their carbon footprint in their energy. So this is what I've been doing day to day for over 4 years, basically. So hopefully my experience today will be of benefit to you. Next slide, please, Carrie. Okay, so just to explain then a bit more about the actual BEES programme and what it is and what it can give you as a business owner. So firstly, it's funded by the UK government. In particular, it's funded by what we call DESNZ, which is the Department of Energy Security and Net Zero. And it's aimed at SMEs in the West Midlands Combined Authority area, Staffordshire, Warwickshire, Worcestershire and the Marches. So a really big spread in the Midlands area. And as I said earlier on, primarily and solely, it's designed to help businesses reduce their energy consumption and cost, basically. It's all about getting those bills down for you, essentially. So in order to do that, I always explain to people, it's effectively a two-phase level of support. The first bit we give you is the guidance bit, which is the free energy audit, where we come out to site and we go through your premises in more detail. And then it's about grant intervention to help get recommendations off the ground, essentially. So the grants that we have available, and as I say, it's still running and it's running till March, it's between £1,000 and £100,000 based on a 50% intervention. So effectively, we'll put in half and you'll put in half towards your required recommendations. It is capped at 50,000 for solar PV, though. Just bear that in mind if you've got a big solar project in mind, but essentially 50% towards those improvement measures. There is no payback. That is key to outline. Our time is free. free energy audit, free reporting, no payback at all. So the grant is that, nothing to pay back on that at all. And then perhaps critically at this juncture, in terms of what we're doing this webinar, really, the program ends in March 2026. So without wishing to be too sort of urgent on this, there's a bit of a process to get at the money, first of all, which I'll explain later on. So really, you need to be engaging soon if you can, to let us do our bit, and then you can then progress to grant to make sure it's all completed by the time the program closes in March 2026. Okay, next slide, please, Carrie. Okay, so eligibility. If anyone's ever dealt with public funding before, you know there's a few eligibility hoops to jump through. So the first thing is you need to be classified as an SME, which means you need to have less than 250 employees, a turnover of £43 million a year or less, and a balance sheet of less than £36 million a year at the moment. And critically as well, you need to have an energy consumption of over 25,000 kilowatt hours per year. So we will help you identify that if you're not sure what your usage is, but you have to use over 25,000 kilowatt hours per year of energy to qualify, basically. You must be responsible for paying the business's energy bills, because the program is designed to help you as a business reduce your energy bills. So you need to be responsible for paying them. So scenarios such as, say, a landlord applying, that kind of thing, doesn't quite work. It's designed to help you reduce your bills, so you need to be paying those bills directly. You need to be a commercial or profit-seeking enterprise. You need to be operating from a commercial address, not residential, for at least 12 months. You need to be registered for at least 12 months as well. And you must own the building or have a minimum of 3-year lease on your building ownership, basically. So those things are quite key. What I will say is, if anybody's unsure about those things and they want to reach out to us, please do so. We can talk you through those criteria moving forward, but they are the primary sort of eligibility restrictions of the program moving forward. Okay, next slide, please, Carrie. Okay, so just to explain a bit more about the key bit, which is our involvement as an energy advisor point of view. Once you're registered with us, which I'll explain how to do it in a while, we will then have a conversation with you over the phone, and we'll book in the free site visit, basically. And we would sit with you first of all and go through what you're looking to achieve. Typically, we'll have gone through your bills with you before we meet as well, to sort of see what you're paying and what your rates are and all those kind of things. And we'll analyse that billing for you, make sure it's all okay. And as I always said to people, this bit isn't rocket science when we're on site. We're essentially coming out to your premises and we're looking for things that are inefficient, basically. So we'll walk around with you, we'll do a full audit, we'll take pictures, and we'll sort of give you some advice on things we can spot that are inefficient, that if you were to improve or upgrade or replace, think retrofit style process, what savings you'd make. So what we will try and do from the audit and the follow-up report we'll provide for you is, as you can see here, is summarise ways of reducing your energy use by improving what's on site. So as you can see from the table, we would perhaps look at your windows. If you've got single glazed windows, we recommend putting double glazed ones in. We'll give you an indicative project cost and show you what can be saved in terms of cost and carbon moving forward. And as you can see, the same true of roof insulation, roller shutter doors, boilers, and so on and so forth, because we think it's key to show you as a business what you would save and what those payback periods are. So you can start to then think about, well, which things are more critical to do, which things perhaps take a bit of a back seat for now. As an example on this table here, the boiler payback, by upgrading a boiler to a high efficiency boiler, the boiler payback is 8 years. That might not be as important to do as perhaps the air compressor, as you can see there, with the payback's a lot quicker. So you can start to sort of work out which things to prioritize and which things are worth leaving or perhaps doing at a later date. And you can start to also see what those cost and carbon savings are, so you know whether it's worth investing, basically. So that's what the actual report will show you. That's just a summary, by the way. We do also expand on those recommendations for you and give you more detail about how we've worked out the savings for the cost and the carbon and how we've estimated the capital cost as well. So we give you more detail than that, but that's just a summary basically. Once that report's been done, you then need to go out and get quotes for the work. So you typically need 3 quotes in Warwickshire and up to 5 quotes in the Coventry area. Different LAs, different local authorities have got different rules behind that, but as a rule, minimum of 3 quotes, which to be fair, most companies get anyway. Flipping that on its head slightly, we do have interest sometimes where people have already got quotes for something and they're looking for some funding. That is fine. We would still come out to site and give you the benefit of our experience anyway, because we like to spot more things than you've perhaps got the quote for, to give you more of a holistic overview of what savings can be made on site. And you then have full autonomy over which supplier you choose to do the work, and then which supplier you then choose to go to for the actual grant application bit moving forward. Okay, next slide, please, Carrie. Okay, so you've already seen this from the previous slide, but typically things that we tend to fund are LED lighting, secondary insulation, double glazed windows. Done a lot of solar PV lately with battery storage. We also look at heating in great detail as well, so we can recommend either higher efficiency gas boilers. We recommend HVAC, heating, ventilation and air conditioning, heat pumps, any kind of heating requirement that will get those heating bills down. We can guide you on and help fund. We also look at what we would call the process as well on site. So if you're a manufacturing company, for example, you may have some old machinery that's using a lot of electricity, a lot of energy. We can then recommend and guide you on putting in some more efficient machinery, such as air compressors, CNC machines, and so on and so forth. And also other things you might not have thought of, such as building management systems that would inherently reduce your energy consumption. We can also give you guidance on those, and they can be funded as well. So there's lots of things that can be funded. Essentially, as long as it reduces energy and we can demonstrate that saving, we can then look to take it to grant application for you. But again, that's what the audit is there to design to do, to just identify those things on site basically. Next slide, please, Carrie. Okay, so once you've engaged with us, we've done our on-site audit, written the report up for you. You can then look to go to the grant application bit. So you need to have had the report done and obtained some quotes before you apply. And you need to have identified a supplier that you want to do the work. Again, you have full autonomy over which supplier you use. We don't get involved in that. As long as you justify why you're using that supplier, basically. So usually that's based on cost or referrals or reviews, those kind of things, or even if they know the site. So you've got full autonomy over that. And they must be quoting you on a capital purchase basis only. We can't give you any funding on things that are like a HP or a leasing sort of program, because you actually have to own the asset, own the thing you're buying, and demonstrate that you've bought it. So obviously when you're going via HP, for example, you don't own it and you don't buy it outright. So it's just capital purchase only. And again, the grant funding is up to 50%, and you would apply directly with your local authority basically. So once you're ready to go, you fill out some application forms, you evidence your quotes you've received. It goes into your relevant local authority. They assess your grant. Once it's approved, you can then place the order with your supplier and get the work done. Once the work is done, you pay your supplier the full 100% of the cost, and then you claim back the agreed 50% from your relevant local authority. It's important to remember that though, because you don't get the money up front. You have to evidence that you have paid the full amount of the actual project cost yourself, and then you claim the money back. So you need to make sure that your cash flow is such that you can afford and demonstrate that you can afford to pay the full 100% before you claim the grant back. As I said earlier on in the actual session as well, the program ends in March 2026. So you need to be thinking about the timescales. We've got to register you. We've got to get out to sites. We've got to do the report for you. You've got to look for quotes as well. There's a fair bit of background work to do. You have got time now, but I'd recommend, if you are interested, please register soon to make sure we can get everything lined up so you're in a position to claim your money by early March 2026. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so just to run through the process again for you. Step 1, complete the registration form on Business Growth West Midlands website. We've got that link for you later on in the actual session at the end. We then check your eligibility, as you've seen from the previous slide, to make sure you fit. We have a conversation with you first of all. I always tend to do a quick Teams call, to be fair, just to run through the eligibility and what people are looking for. We then book in the site visit, the site audit, which we come on site and do the energy audit and write up the report for you. And you can then look to, following you've got the report, you can then look to apply for the grant moving forward. We are here to help you through every single step of the process. So from the initial registration, through to the Teams call, the triage call to go for your requirements, through to the on-site bit, and then through to the actual grant application. Myself and my colleagues will guide you all the way through. So we're here to help. We don't sort of pass you over at any point. We help you do the forms up until the point of submission of the application. So we're here to help you all the way through, basically. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so I hope that's been clear, and maybe we'll get some questions in the chat later on or at the end of the session if you've got any queries on that. But to give you an example of how it should work in practice, I'm pleased to pass you on to our guest speaker today, Matthew Fielder from Harris RCS, who's going to talk you through his experience so far and the benefits he's found from engaging with the programme. Over to you, Matthew.
Thank you. So welcome all. So I'm Matt from Harris RCS. I'm one of the operation directors here. Currently been at the business 15 years now and oversee all the activities inside the business. In regards to the bees, one of the reasons we really wanted to do this was, so obviously you get the cost saving exercises with all of this, but it was ensuring that we get a great working environment for our employees on the shop floor as well. So what you'll see in the next slide is our roof used to be a single skinned roof, and all the heat that we were generating from the machines and from our heaters would just go straight out onto the shop floor and then up and into the roof and disperse. And because we're in the aerospace industry as well, we've got a lot of manufacturing components with critical tolerances. Say that again, sorry.
I'm in the meeting.
I think can somebody just mute their microphone, please? Thank you.
All right. Okay.
Sorry, Matt.
So one of the main things for us as well is trying to make it a great working environment for our employees here, but also because some of our components are very critical, we needed to stabilize and normalize it at temperature within inside the business. So we reached out to Coventry Council, and I had a fantastic contact there, Denise Osborne, who came in to do our energy assessment. And we discussed the type of ideas which you saw in a previous one there about lights and hand dryers, lighting. And we really wanted to insulate the roof, as the main source of heat escaping from our facility was through the roof. And so what we did was we started looking into an energy audit on that and the feasibility of that. And then kind of came up with a case scenario around having the roof done. On top of that, we also wanted to pursue solar panels, but at the time our roof wasn't suitable for solar panels. So we kind of had this bigger picture of where we wanted to be as a company in 5 years time versus where we are now. And then we had to make sure that all the walls were insulated in the building, the roof was also insulated, but that roof was also suitable for solar panels to go on. So if we go to the next slide, please, Kerry, what you will probably find is this is the information that we got from our energy report. So what we could see there is from our roof insulation, the energy report said that essentially we're going to save around 22,000 kilowatt hours a year. And then once we've installed the solar panels onto the roof, we're going to save an additional 37,000. And then obviously insulating one of our external walls right at the very bottom of the factory was an additional 8,000 kilowatt hours a year. So obviously equating to 67,000 kilowatts, which is huge. And when you convert that into the CO2 saving, which is 13 tons, it's almost a no-brainer. The cost is obviously it's a significant cost up front, but really with the intervention from the bees, it's you're slashing that in half, and it's very, very valuable. And the process, I will say, it was so simple. Like I say, we had a wonderful contact at the council. We almost had the energy audit done straight away. We had the report back in a couple of weeks. We came up with these suppliers. Some of the suppliers are actually on the Coventry Council website as well. So it's something to mention. So it's a really good place. If you've got an idea of what you want, it'd be worthwhile looking onto their website and actually finding out who the supplier or local suppliers around the area, because that was key for us as well. That was quite vital for some of these suppliers. And yeah, for us, it was a case of streamlining the whole process by having one contact that we dealt with at the council, walked us through the application. If I had any concerns or if there was any bits I wasn't sure of, I could reach out to Denise, provided all of that information into the portal, and then within a couple more weeks, when the grant committee got together, they give you the offer letter, and then all you've got to do then is ensure that you're not raising any purchase orders or no money is being transferred until you receive that letter. And then obviously probably the most important bit here is ensure that you get it in. I think it's February 2026 or March 2026 that the project has to be complete in full. I was just discussing prior to this meeting that if it falls outside of that, then potentially you won't get the funding. So just be mindful that if you are thinking about reaching out, that you do reach out early to make sure you've got enough time to get the project in place. But for us, this has been fantastic for us. And as you can see, it's 13 tons of CO2 saved is significant. As an aerospace company that's very energy intensive, so we've got many CNC machines here turning all sorts of materials. This is very valuable, and it's going to help us as well, be more competitive within the aerospace industry and within the Midlands as well. So if you go to the next slide, Carrie, please. So this is some photo evidence of the process itself. So again, like I said, we had a single skin roof, so all the heat was being chucked straight out. So as part of the project, I think it's 110 or 100 million roof insulation was laid down, and then overcladding put on top of that. And then what we also did was factor in, we were looking to put solar panels on, so we needed to ensure that the roof was strong enough to then have solar panels added on at a later date. And what you can see there is we overcladded the whole thing, but one of the things was probably a hidden benefit to this is actually we replaced all those skylights that you see on that bottom photo. This project got completed in February of this year, and we've not had to turn the lights on. We've only just turned the lights on for the whole shop floor, and it was something that we didn't really appreciate how much light new skylights would let into the factory, and it was a hidden benefit, which all the boys on the shop floor were like, wow, this is incredible. But it's definitely worthwhile looking into if you can. If you can go to the next slide now, Carrie. Q&A. Have you got any questions for me?
Okay, lovely. That's a great run through. Thank you very much, Matthew. Interesting to sort of see these things in real time, basically. So thanks for going through that with us. Quick question for me, really. Obviously we spoke earlier on about cost savings here are key, as we know. We spoke about carbon savings as well. Could you give our audience a bit of an overview of why the carbon bit is so important to the business as well, please, if that's possible?
Yeah, of course. So as a manufacturing company or any company, you do try to be as sustainable as possible. So obviously we're all trying to do our bit for the planet. So the main thing is by using less energy and reducing your carbon footprint. It's going to be a greener environment for everybody. But also, there is something coming out later on, I think in 2027, which is called CBAM, which some of you may or may not be aware of, which is a carbon border adjustment mechanism, where you will also at some point start being taxed on all the carbon that you are producing to make your products or your or including your processes. So that comes out in 2027, and I think the EU have adopted it in 2026. So it's to make sure that we're in a good solid foundation of place to be able to remain competitive when that kicks in. So it's very important that people are aware of that. And obviously the main driver for us is that we're doing it for our employees here, but also to ensure that, you know, we're doing our bit for the environment.
Yeah, I think it's key. You're sort of walking the walk, aren't you? Basically, you're showing the benefits of it from a cost-saving point of view, and also the more holistic stuff, which has been more sustainable and having one eye on the environment as well. So that's good to see. Yeah. I think I've done a lot of work in the automotive supply chain in Coventry in particular, and a lot of people have been told in their supply chain that they're not able to carry on selling unless they can demonstrate a carbon reduction, which kind of ties in a bit with the CBAM element as well. So it's not just about cost, it's about keeping competitive, as you rightly said earlier on. So thank you. And I think, Pamela, that perhaps answers your question properly that you've dropped in the chat, all about the carbon and the legislation bit moving forward as well. If anyone's got any more questions, if they want to put them in the chat, or if you're feeling essentially very brave, just raise your hand and you can ask your question verbally if you like. Totally up to you. Or if not, I have a few more questions, Matthew, for you directly, if that's okay. Quick one from me before we. Oh, in fact, no, we have a question in the chat from Matt Lynch. Matt, thanks for your question. I'll read it to you, Matthew. What would you estimate the energy savings you are making are as a percentage of your previous year's total costs? I think I put that on the slide, actually. Do you know that figure yourself, Matthew, or shall I go back to the slide and see? I think I worked it out to be around a 31% saving, Matt, for when we combined the solar, the wall insulation, the roof insulation. It was cutting down the consumption of the previous year by 31%. If that's what you're asking, I hope that answers your question. And then Matthew, another question for you, if possible. Pamela's raised, interested on any pressure from aerospace customers. So are you seeing people, I think as I alluded to, are you seeing people demanding and asking for that carbon saving and demonstration that you are being sustainable moving forward as well?
Yes, absolutely. So to be honest, within the last 6 months, we've seen significant interest from our customers on us as a manufacturer, and obviously our competitors as well, is what are we doing, where are we? So they know their figures, obviously, but also I think for us as well, as new work becomes available to Harris RCS, I think in the back of our mind, they're going to be wanting to put work to a good manufacturer, but also are doing all the right things and ensuring that, you know, they're being as green as possible. And it doesn't just come down to solely down to price anymore. So it's, yeah, we're definitely seeing it within the last 6 months. We've had probably our 2 biggest customers come to us now, where we've had to give baseline figures of where we were previously, and this year's figures now. It's quite big.
That's good to hear. I think a lot of companies that are on the same journey as you as well have also, once they've done the solar bit, they've done a really nice case study themselves to put on their website. They've promoted it on their social media to give your company a real positive slant, basically. So obviously you're all over that already, but I find that works really, really well as well moving forward. Just shows you as one of the forerunners in the industry, doesn't it, really? So maybe something to consider. Question as well quick question from myself, actually, Matthew. What's next? Have you got anything else on your pipeline or on your agenda at all, or is the solar the last piece of the jigsaw? Just out of interest.
it's probably, no, I think we're in a transitional period. We in our business we have some machines that are really old, and they're obviously quite energy intensive. We know, for instance, there are suppliers in the market that are giving you transformers which are more efficient, so your machines will start drawing less energy. Maybe that's something that we'd look to pursue. And then internally as well, there will be some sort of phased out approach of some of our older pieces of kit for greener pieces of kit. So it's definitely not the end. I think once you stop, I think that's when your competitors will catch you up and take over. So it's important that you're constantly moving with this, driving it forward.
Yeah, agree. Well, as I mentioned earlier on, we can and we do help with machinery improvements, but I think the way you've approached this and the way that Denise has sort of laid it out to you is the right way around. You've sort of attacked your, I wouldn't say low-hanging fruit, but you certainly attacked the ones that I would have recommended first moving forward. But if you do need any more help, of course, please do reach out and we can look at that machinery for you in more detail, basically. I can see that we've had a question in from Parkash. Thank you for your question that my colleague Claire has confirmed. Are there any fees charged for the service? No. If you're eligible, as I mentioned earlier on, everything is free. The support is free, the reporting, the auditing is all free. And then the grant is that. The grant is a grant with nothing to pay back, but you have to be eligible first of all. So if you are interested, Parkash, we'll share the way you register very, very shortly. Get in touch and we'll jump on it and we can get involved and help, basically. We've just gone over 1 o'clock, so we've just gone past the end of the session, and I can't see any more questions. So I'll bring things to a close. I hope that's given you a bit of an overview of what the program's about and how it can help your business. Thank you to Matthew for going through your benefits. That was a really nice case study, and I hope your solar gets done in time and everything comes to fruition nicely. So if anybody would like to get in touch with us, the best way is to search for Business Growth West Midlands BEES in Google, and that will take you directly to the registration form. There's a load of information on there about what the program will give you. There's a registration page on there as well to put your company details in. It gives you some eligibility things to check as well. And if you're unsure about whether you do use that threshold of 25,000 kilowatt hours, there's a nice little tool on there as well, which will help you work out whether you do or you don't. But essentially, we're here to help. So if you've got any queries at all, just reach out to us via that registration form. We'll jump on a call with you and just go through your business sort of structure to make sure you're eligible, and then B, what you're looking for, so we can help moving forward. But just to stress as well, the program does end in March. So as you can see, there's a fair bit of stuff to get through before you get at the grant funding. The quicker you register, the quicker we can engage with you, get ourselves on site and help you. But we're here and we're ready and waiting for your inquiry. So please reach out. So I hope that's been of interest. As I say, we'll share the slides and we'll share the recording with you moving forward, and hopefully I will see some of you maybe on site at some point soon. Thanks for joining.